Hello, I'm Sean Finnegan, and you are listening to Restitutio, a podcast to get you thinking about biblical and historical Christianity, to inspire you to follow Christ, and to convict you to lead a consecrated life. J. Dan and Sharon Gill are part of a growing movement of Bible students who have concluded that the Father of Jesus is the only true God. They're so passionate about this truth that in 2008 they launched their website called 21st Century Reformation, which you can get to at 21stcr.org. To date, they have about 2,000 subscribers, and they've received over 700,000 views on YouTube from their various videos, not to mention visitors to their site. In this interview, you'll hear a bit about the Gill's journey of faith from oneness to one, why they decided to launch 21st Century Reformation, how Sharon became the, quote, most tech-savvy grandma in America, end quote, how they came up with the name, and their vision for the future. This was a delightful interview and conversation, and I think it will encourage you. Here now is interview 22, the 21st Century Reformation, with J. Dan and Sharon Gill. Well, I'm so glad to have today to talk to the Gills, Dan and Sharon, and J. Dan and Sharon.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Miss out the J there.
Keep this straight.
Keep
it
things,
right.
Yeah, use your pen name. Welcome to Restitutio today.
Ah, indeed.
Thank you.
We're happy to be here.
So I wanted to begin by asking you a little bit about your work online. But before I do that, maybe you could just share a little bit of your own story of coming to see who God is and who Jesus is. I know that you two had come from a oneness Pentecostal background. What first opened the door for you in changing your mind on that?
We had grown up, both of us, I suppose. We were second or third generation oneness Pentecostal folks, and our families were that. Sharon grew up in Tennessee. I grew up in Michigan, but we were very devout oneness young people, and we got married in Tennessee, and we loved our church and still love oneness people, still love oneness ministers and folks, and but we did reach a point where that I think by the kindness of God, He began to open our understanding to realize there was more to understand than what we'd understood. We knew that the Trinitarian business just didn't work for a lot of reasons. Even as oneness people, we knew there was...
Right, that was part of your belief already, was that the Trinity was biblical.
Exactly. We're going to a very good oneness church, great oneness pastors, ministers. Our primary oneness pastor was a great public debater, and he debated Trinitarians. So we got to see all of these exciting things going on as young people. But I think while we were still going to that church, and as I said, listening to our oneness preachers every weekend, we began to realize that not only were there problems with the Trinity, but our thoughts and faith about our oneness perspective was wanting as well. And it challenged us, and to challenge us to study and to look to God. But it led us from all of those perspectives, from Trinitarianism, oneness, to where we're at today. And we're happy today. This really works much better than those other systems, I think.
All right, so did you say it was the debates then that got you thinking about it? Or?
Well, partially. I think, but mostly it was just, as I say, I really do believe it was just the kindness of God that caused me to begin to really reconsider the things that we were thinking and believing. And I still remember the first time that I came home and sat down with Sharon in our kitchen, and I told her, I said, I think we could be wrong. And I still remember her saying, about what? and I said, about Jesus being God.
Do you remember that?
I really do. I remember exactly where he was at in the kitchen and where I was at.
Oh, so that was a defining moment for you.
Right, it was. And I was very devoted and devout oneness person. Though I'm very easygoing when it come to my beliefs, I wasn't going to believe it just because he said it. So we began studying. We both worked in downtown Nashville, and lived on a busy morning, maybe a 45-minute drive into Nashville, and back that afternoon. So we began reading, and I decided to give a new look to who God was and who Jesus was. And I actually decided to give the Trinitarian view even a fair shake. I thought I've always been oneness. I've always felt the Trinity was wrong, but I'm going to begin reading. We begin reading, in Matthew or Luke?
In Matthew,
and just read straight through.
The entire New Testament.
The entire New Testament. And, I was just astounded that as I began reading the things that Dan had talked about, that there is one God and Jesus is his human son, began making sense. But when we got to the book of Acts, oneness people really think that that's their book.
Okay.
The book of Acts.
Own that one up.
They own the book of Acts. And
right.
from a Trinitarian view, it's not a very good book for the Trinitarian view. But when we got there and I began reading, and particularly Acts, the 2nd chapter, and Acts 2:36, and, you see these verses talking about the separation between God and his son.
Yeah.
And my eyes just became opened. And then our oneness pastor used to always talk about Romans and Hebrews being difficult books. And so I thought, when we get to Romans and we get to Hebrews, it's going to be hard. But when you believe the truth, those books aren't so hard.
I bet, too, the places in the epistles where it says, grace and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord Jesus Christ, did that catch your attention?
Yes. And I think our oneness brethren had a way of explaining that away. But
okay, so there was already an explanation.
Right,
okay.
but...
some figure of speech, perhaps? Or?
No, well, we're using the word kai, the conjunction in Greek.
Oh, even?
Yes, could also be even. So it's God our Father,
yes,
even.
Yes, so
a
translation issue.
And so that
oh, wow, that is slick.
Doesn't work so well when you begin to really reading the scriptures and realizing, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that doesn't really work out. So.
Kai doesn't usually mean even. It's actually rather rare. But that's very clever.
Oh, it is,
I have to
of
give him
course.
that. Yeah. So I remember hearing a story. I think your year of sharing a faith story at the theological conference was my first year. And I remember you saying you felt like you were all alone. And you were so surprised to find other biblical Unitarians, other people who believe the Father is the only true God and that Jesus is his miraculously born Son.
Indeed.
That you were very surprised by that. So what was this period? I mean, how long are we talking here where you and Sharon and the others, were there others at this time?
Yeah. We left our Oneness Church in 1980, the latter part of 1980. But between 1980 and about 2001, we were really just by ourselves. We didn't want to go to another Oneness Church. We knew that wasn't really working anymore. It wasn't. We didn't want to go to Trinitarian churches either. That didn't really. We knew that wasn't right, so we didn't feel like that was going to work out for us. So we just stayed at home, and with our 2 young daughters, we just read and studied the Bible. And so that was in late 1980, and then as time went by, we had other people take an interest in what we were doing, and eventually my mom and dad, who were devout oneness folks, they came to be with us, and that was exciting, and a lot of other folks. And when you and I met first in, I think, 2001, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2002, I'm sorry.
Either one or two.
Yeah. But we were just astounded to find folks who were understanding and believing these things that we had come to believe. And
so you're talking about a 21-year period.
Exactly.
That's a long time to think you're all alone and maybe you're crazy, but this is the Bible and you're sticking to it.
That's right. Well, every time I get to thinking, are we just nuts? Am I losing my mind or something? Go back and read the scriptures and start reading again. And every time you come back to the Bible, then I'm realizing, no, we're not losing our minds.
Right.
We're on the right track.
Yeah. I remember that you said you felt like you were all alone and that you were so thankful to find others who also shared this view. and that when you met Anthony Buzzard, you sat down, and of course I know Anthony very well also, and he tried to find something you disagree on, which is such an Anthony Buzzard approach to meeting friends.
That's right.
In the end, that like he couldn't find anything. He's like, well, I guess we agree.
I still recall, and you remember, I'm sure, when Anthony first visited us after we had first learned about Anthony and others, but. He came to Nashville and spent some time with us and met our group there in 2001, the latter part of 2001. And it was great. We just had nonstop Bible talks and great time, and Anthony spoke to our folks in our group there. And it just launched a whole new era of life for us. And we've been happy ever since. We were pretty happy before, but we were really happy after that.
Yeah. Let's talk about your ministry in the 21st Century Reformation. This is a website and an online video resource place for people to get Christian education, get inspirational materials, get articles. First of all, what led you to start this?
We were wrestling about 7 to 8 years ago. We were so happy to have met so many good people, and including yourself and many others, that we could share this faith with and share fellowship with. But it began with me that I really just felt like I wanted to do something to give back. I wanted to do something to somehow help forward this cause that has come to mean so much to us. And I didn't really know what. I thought, well, I'll write a book. And then I looked around, and we had some really good books already written, so I thought, well, maybe we don't need a book. But I really just took out some time, and I prayed about it and thought about it, and finally began to think that we should do a website. We didn't know how to do a website. And so I began to talk to Sharon. She didn't know how to do a website either, but she learned how.
And your background is in appraisal, right? It's not a technical background.
Right. My professional background for years was real estate appraising, which I enjoyed a great deal. And Sharon worked with me some in that. But
we use computers from that standpoint, but nothing to do with websites or videos.
Okay, so you had this idea. We need some sort of a website that kind of has the big picture in mind.
Right.
So how did you figure out how to do a web page and a website? And did you go back to school, Sharon? Or
I did some online training for about a year, and would look at the website programs and go back and take more classes. I was scared to touch them. They looked so complicated, but finally just dove in and began doing it and prayed and asked questions if I could find someone that, knew something about what we were doing or about web design.
We knew that the type of site we were envisioning would be something that would be rather expensive to do, more expensive than we could afford to do, because it would involve travel and producing new materials, and then also a lot of sophisticated work on computers and cameras and so on. And so we decided we couldn't afford to hire this done, so we just did it ourselves. So I said Sharon went on to become possibly the most tech-savvy grandma in America, and that's still true. But we did know we wanted the site to be very visual, which back 8 years ago when we were thinking about this, it was a less visual world than it is today. So
websites had more text on them.
Yeah, and we wanted also for the site to be to involve a lot of folks. We found that there was sites around at that time, good sites, but mostly focused on one person or one person's ministry and so on, and that was wonderful and fine. But we wanted to produce a site that would involve a lot of people, and so we were excited about the prospects, and it took us about a year before we launched the site, but in January of 2010, we began 21st Century Reformation, and we just had a good time ever since.
And I remember wanting to put a face on our movement, I guess you might say. I remember asking you and Ruth for a picture of you and your family. I wanted people to see you and your wife and your children, and we asked some of the women to do articles. We wanted to put a face of children and families. This isn't just...
It's not just a group of old men doing
right.
stuff.
I wasn't going to say that, but I mean, but I wanted to show there's families that believe this, and there's children. And I remember we went to South Carolina, and there was a young man there, 12 years old, that could just play the piano up. We put him on there. You know, we wanted to put a face that we're normal people that love this message. We have children, we have young people.
Right, we're not a bunch of weirdos in some
right.
cult where we all worship the guru or
that's
something.
Right,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Let's talk about the name for a moment. Where did that come from?
Actually, it's interesting that I didn't have a name in the beginning, but we had a gathering at our house one weekend, I guess, and Anthony was there, Barbara was there, Joe Martin was there, and several others, and Joel Hemphill was there, a friend of ours. And but as everyone was leaving, I still remember, I think it was Joel Hemphill. We'd been talking about the Reformation, 15, 17, and so on. But Joel Hemphill said, what we need is a 21st Century Reformation. And I thought, so
there it was.
We had our name. So that launched our name there. So we've always been pleased with that.
Let's talk about the traffic that you guys have. Do you know off the top of your head about how many folks visit or what countries they come from and this sort of thing?
We used to track numbers and so on, and I really just gave it up and quit worrying about it. But I do know this, that the site has been far more successful than we'd ever imagined it would be as far as outreach and connecting with people. And we hear from people, and we're running into people all the time who are benefiting from it, which is very exciting to us.
All over the world.
Yeah, all over the world. That's right. We hear from. There's not a week that goes by that I don't hear from somebody somewhere that I've never heard of or known before, who are saying, "We're seeing this," or "We're getting this." I heard from a man here a while back, and he sent me an email one evening, and he said in the email, "Who are you people? What are you doing? Are you trying to start a new denomination?" and so on. But then before I didn't even respond to him that night, I went to bed, got up the next morning, and he wrote me back the next morning, and he said, "I see." He said, "I've been up all night watching these things." And he said, "I see what you're saying." And this guy's still with us to this day on this site. But so it's wonderful to see people benefited, getting a better understanding of God. What better things could we do than to be involved in that, I think.
Just looking at your YouTube channel here, it says that you have almost 2,000 subscribers on there. And your site is very much a video-based site.
Right.
I'm interested in two other kind of technical aspects here. One is, where did you get the idea to publish it every month? Because most websites are not like that.
It may have been you.
Me?
Yes. There was someone who told, and I think it was you, that said, if you want to get your website noticed by Google, you need to change it real often.
Oh, did I say that?
I think you may have. Do you remember?
I think
it was you.
Maybe I did, yeah.
And so somehow we came up with the monthly idea. It's almost like been a monthly magazine type thing. And
now, has that been for you? I mean, you've been doing this for
over 7 years.
7
now.
years as the webmaster. Has that been just an incredible pressure on you each month? Or has it been pretty easy? Or are you planning these things out a year ahead? Or, I mean, what's it been like?
almost like doing a newspaper. You get close to time to get it done, maybe the week before, maybe week and a half before, and you begin looking, what have we got? We got this material. And then he always saves, I accuse him of saving a very good email that says, I just found your site, and I am so excited to find someone who believes like I had come to believe. And then I think, okay, got to keep this up.
I use those for motivation.
In those grueling days leading up to the release of the next month's site, that's seen her through some of the difficult times.
Wow. It's incredible, the consistency. 7 years, 12 times a year, whatever that multiplies out to.
A lot.
84 or something. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of additions.
Yeah.
And you do 5 videos per month?
We do 5 videos. In the beginning, the videos were done differently, a different technology than they are now. So occasionally I go back and pull one of those old videos and redo them with the new technology.
Yeah, that's smart,
and we usually try to have, three articles.
3 new articles.
3 new articles a month. And
I mean, that's just staggering, the amount of new material. Because, I mean, there's old material, but it's not video, mostly. So you're constantly generating new video. I mean, that's a lot.
Well,
of work.
it's a challenge and required a lot of effort and discipline, but it's been rewarding too, because we certainly have benefited from materials that have not been passed to us at times, but the majority of the materials we produced have been what we originally wanted, and that was new material, things where we're contributing something that hasn't been there before. The heroes of our effort have been people like yourself and Anthony and Joel and several dozen others whom we've been able to video and speak with and get them doing things and make them available through the site.
Do you know what your most viewed video is?
Interestingly enough, I think we do. But it's actually a musical piece.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It says, I Claim the Blood.
That's right.
Labriska Hemphill.
Exactly. And Labriska, who's passed on now, but she's a wonderful lady, wonderful friend, and a major Southern gospel music person, her and Joel. But that song, we put it on the site, and it just went right on up.
Yeah, 63,000 views so far.
Yeah, and still going. So it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
But I will say this, or you may be looking at it, but our top theological piece, which is like the second or third piece back after all the music stuff, is a piece that you did.
I'm looking at it now. 5 Major Problems with the Trinity.
Excellent.
43,251 views. Yeah. That was not that long. Was that 5 years ago? We did that, and
we were still on the north side on those conferences, so but it hadn't been too long.
Well, I thank you for that.
Oh no,
I think if I put it on any YouTube account I had, I'd get like 100 or 200 views. 43,000. I mean, you are kind of like what a publisher is to the book world. Developing this viewership where you're able to really get stuff out there, and that's exciting to see what's going to be happening here in the future.
Well, and you think about it, if 43,000 folks or thereabouts have actually downloaded that, these are people who were interested in the subject, interested in the material. So it's not just a broadcasting kind of thing where you have lots of people maybe, they're not really interested.
Like junk mail.
Right, it's not like that. These are very pointed, direct people who are interested in these things. So we thank you for that. And we've got probably 3 dozen other things that you've done on there. But we're great fans, in case you hadn't figured that out.
We're all fans of each other, right?
Yes.
So I mean, that's just incredible. I see on here you've got the Lost Early History of Unitarian Christian Theology with Dale Tuggy.
Oh yeah.
And a number of Anthony Buzzard videos, tons of Joel Hemphill, and looks like your granddaughter on there. 13-year-old Leslie Jones sings Joe Hemphill's classic songs.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's really, I see, there's the one God focus here, but then there are these musical pieces, and there is some of this other stuff,
and even some humorous stuff at times we found.
So, back to my technical question, how did you figure out all the video?
I had to learn just like I did to do the website, and took classes. And we went from one video camera to 2 video cameras to 3. Now I have 4. And so when we do interviews, we set up all 3 cameras, and then that's another learning curve to work with multiple videos. But I've enjoyed it. And I might say to your audience that I was maybe, 59 when I started doing this. I'm 66 right now, and you never get too old to learn something new. So
wow, that's great. Yeah, and I saw you this weekend with this big, fancy new camera. Yes. So that's exciting.
That's been another learning curve because it's more professional than my other 3.
Right. So now you're recording in full HD.
Yes.
And you've got new audio, and I mean it's just incredible what you're doing. And again, you had no background in this at all.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's pretty great. And Dan's content to let you manage all that side of things.
He certainly is.
Well, let's talk about the future and your vision. Where do you see this movement going?
As far as our involvement, we're really happy at the things that have developed. As I said, it's really worked out better, and the effort has turned out to be farther reaching and more beneficial than we ever expected in the beginning. And literally thousands and thousands of folks are watching every month now the things that we're doing, and we don't always even know who they are, but it's great that they're there. But we are right now working on the first pretty complete redevelopment of the site that we have done. And Sharon's been working on it already for several months. It's a pretty massive undertaking because the site itself is massive. Hundreds and hundreds of very extensive video type materials and on. But Sharon is working diligently on that. She can tell you about it. But we're updating, redesigning. The name won't change, but the site's going to have a different appearance. But not only that, the site is going to be taking on a different approach and character to some of our outreach and what we're doing. We're going to be reorganizing our materials to make them more easily found and digested by people who are coming from different directions. So if you're a Trinitarian person, then there may be sort of a sub-site, if you will, that's devoted to you with things that are really laid out that would be of particular interest. If you're a oneness person, same thing. If you're an Arian background kind of person. So we're really developing the site into several sub-sites, and we're kind of excited about it. And our probably biggest sub-site will be our own perspectives, our own views about the one God. And so we'll have that, and you're going to be found again on our site in different ways, I think.
Glad to help if I can. Sure.
But that's been underway, and Sharon's working very hard on the technical aspects. Plus, we're not only redesigning and redeveloping the materials we have, but we're also working now diligently on new materials for the new site, which hopefully will begin probably this fall, perhaps, or maybe by the first of this coming year at the latest. So.
Going to try to make it more accessible to all the tablets and the different phones and the different computer sizes, and kind of update it technically as well as my content.
Are you interested in people getting in touch with you who maybe already have videos recorded or would like to come down and record with you?
Sure, and we're interested in folks that are out there who love these things and perhaps would be interested in doing some writing for us, some new material. That's great. We'd certainly enjoy receiving that and taking a look at it. People who might do some videos, or send them. We would love to. We couldn't assure that we would definitely use them, but we would love to see them, and perhaps we could. So we would be very interested in that.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to support your work, how would they get in touch with you?
They certainly could, and we certainly appreciate it. We honestly have borne a lot of our own expenses over these past several years. And but we've had some folks come along who really enjoy what we're doing and have helped out some too in ways that they could, and we greatly appreciate it. So if someone would like to help, it would be very helpful. And all you'd have to do is just go on the site, and there you would find information on the site about how you could help out, and that would be great.
There's a donation tab on 21st Century Reformation.
Very good, and certainly prayer as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, above all, I think. So,
and then articles, if someone has written about this subject. Do you have plans to expand the commentary? Because I know that was a project at one point. We
have worked a lot on the commentary, but the new redeveloped site will also have, we hope, we're working on it, a very redeveloped commentary system. We've done many video commentaries, book commentaries with Anthony.
Right.
And we've enjoyed that. Our goal was to try to do all the books of Paul and the book of Hebrews. And actually, we've almost accomplished that. All we lack is the books of 1st and 2nd Corinthians, and actually we've already done 1st Corinthians, so it'll be available when we go to the redeveloped site. 2nd Corinthians is in the making, so hopefully soon we'll have that. But it has been such a joy working with Anthony and spending time on those. But we've also got a lot of other short pieces on things. We'd like to expand that and work on that more as well. Yeah. And so, yes, we've enjoyed that.
There's not really another video commentary out there that I know of.
Not like this, and it's been a huge undertaking to do, but it's also been very beneficial. We've heard from folks all over the world who have been, I forget, but I think 60-something thousand people in total have watched our Hebrews commentary.
Wow.
And so that's just those 13 chapters.
And that's a video per chapter?
It is.
Okay.
And so actually, in one case, the 7th chapter there's 2 parts. It's just an exciting chapter. So we got carried away.
Well, Melchizedek, baby. There's a lot going on there in Hebrews 7.
There you go.
So somebody's studying the Bible. They're reading maybe in the morning, and they're in anything written by Paul or the epistle to the Hebrews.
Right.
They could just jump right on 21st Century Reformation and watch the video.
And there's also MP3s that can be downloaded for free. So if you prefer to have audio.
Mm-hmm. And you have the audio version as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to add or comment or share about the website and the ministry?
Well, I would say this. For 2 young people who started out in oneness and were oneness devout folks, we realized that God had a different plan for our lives than what we imagined or pictured back then. But just 2 folks who had a love for understanding and a love for the Word of God, and to whom God was kind and has been kind through these years. We have been honored to have any small part to play in this great, grand effort. And so we're excited about carrying on and maybe redeveloping our site as we're doing now. But our whole heart has just been to help and encourage and in some way, whatever small way we can, benefit people who have come from our background, other backgrounds, or maybe a lot of people who, as we did for many years, may feel alone. They have this thought, this understanding in mind, or they're coming to it, but maybe there's no one for them to fellowship in their areas. We felt like the 21st could help bring them videos and information and so on that would be the next best thing. At least they can watch good teaching and other people and feel a part of something, even though from a distance.
Yeah, and that's really helpful too. If someone's living in an area where there's not already a congregation, already a home church or any kind of fellowship, that they could jump online and they could still get quality Bible teaching, quality resources for themselves and for their families.
Right. So, and then like Dan said, we have music. We have some links to some live stream.
Yeah.
So
now, do you have any plans of putting together a 21st Century Reformation conference down the line that you would get people together, maybe from all over the world? I know you've been to Germany or Austria. I don't remember which.
We've been to Germany and the Czech Republic
and the Czech
a couple
Republic,
of times actually.
Yeah.
So, but we would love to, and we do have thoughts about it. So we're thinking about it, praying about it, and.
But no definitive plans at this point?
Not that we have any dates set or anything like that. If we do, it'll probably be in Nashville or the Nashville area.
Yeah.
And if we do, you must be there. That's all so we've already got that figured out. Yeah. So, but we have so many friends around, and a lot of folks that we've met at different conferences. And then I think of others out there who could make it to Nashville at some time in the year that we haven't been able to see at other conferences. So it'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much for taking some time today.
Oh, wow.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much so.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to that. I had a great time talking with them, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. For this show, I have a number of links for the Gills and what they're doing in the show notes for this episode. So you can scroll into that on your device or hop on over to restitutio.org and find interview 22. And you can find a link to the 21st Century Reformation website. That's 21stcr.org. Also, you can find a link to subscribe to their YouTube channel and also get J. Dan Gill's book, The One in Defense of God, which has been out for about a year now, and it's available on Amazon. Also, I have a few other messages that Dan has given. One is called One God, One Message. It's a sermon. Another is called Is the Trinity Necessary for Salvation? From my old podcast, Truth Matters. And then the last is From Oneness to One, which is his own testimony of coming to discover that his belief that Jesus was the Father was incorrect and that Jesus was in fact the human Son of God as opposed to God himself. So head on over to 21st Century Reformation. Check out their stuff over there. Each month they come out with new videos, and they've diligently done that for 7 years now. Thanks so much for listening. Please review Restitutio on iTunes and subscribe on email if you'd like to get updates about when new episodes come out, usually twice a week right now. Stay tuned for next Thursday when the Kingdom of God class part 8 airs, called The Kingdom Way, which really is one of the most overlooked aspects of the Kingdom of God, but it's the idea that our belief in the kingdom should shape how we live today. So stay tuned for that on Thursday. We'll see you online, and remember, the truth has nothing to fear.